first Olympic women's gold medal in Los Angeles. She had a U.S. record for 18 years of 221, which was just recently broken years. And also, last year, she competed in the U.S. Olympic trials, and at the age of 50 plus, she ran a sub-250 marathon, which is pretty amazing. So she'll be running in this Sunday's ISG New York City Marathon. Would you please give a warm round of applause for Joan Benoit Samuelson.
My pleasure to be here on behalf of ING for the 40th running of the ING New York City Marathon. I haven't been to New York to run the marathon or part of the marathon since 2 years ago when I came and ran the last 16 miles with Lance Armstrong. This time I'm going the entire distance, and the last time I did that was in 2001. So I'm delighted to be back here celebrating the 40th anniversary of this great run. I said after the trials last year in Boston that I wasn't going to run any more competitive marathons, but I never said what constitutes competitive, so here I am, and I'm delighted to be amongst all of you. How many first-time marathoners do we have in the audience? That's great. Well, congratulations. You made it this far, and that's the hardest part. Actually, the hardest part is the next couple of days when you're supposed to be tapering. We all want to test our fitness right up until the starting line, and you just have to refrain from doing so. You have to believe in what you have in the bank, so to speak. And it's all now about the taper. And I've always struggled with tapers. I have no trouble putting in the miles, but the tapers always seem to get the best of me. So how many of you are here for your first ING New York City Marathon? You're in for a real treat. You're going to have a huge amount of support along the way. It looks like we're going to have a dry day that's very conducive to good marathoning. It's a real lesson in sociology and history and urban studies as you run through the 5 boroughs. And just know that the people in New York are really savvy when it comes to marathoning, and they seem to be able to say the right thing at the right time to keep you going. How many of you are here with training friends or club teams or people that you plan to run the marathon with on Sunday? I might ask you to rethink your plans. To me, the marathon is all about running your own race. You can't run anybody else's race except your own race. So that being said, if you really appreciate your friendships and your teammates and your training partners, you might revise your plans so that instead of running the entire 26.2 together, you might decide to go to the starting line together and agree upon a designated meeting area on the other side of the finish line. Because if you're having a great day and your training partner isn't, and you feel like you can really go, and your training partner just doesn't have it, it's very difficult to run that other person's race. And that's sort of the decision I made back in '84 at the Olympics, and the press gave me a really hard time. They thought I'd really blown it as far as race strategy is concerned, because they thought that I had left the pack too early on in the race. And what I was thinking in my mind was that I was stutter-stepping, I wasn't hitting my stride, I was running inefficiently, and I had to get outside that pack of runners to find my own stride. And that served me well that day, and it served me well in most of my races. I just have to go with it. If that race had been a day earlier, a day later, even a couple hours earlier, the results would have been totally different. But you have to go with what you have at that moment in time. So on Sunday morning at about 9:40, 10 o'clock, when we're all starting to leave the starting line, just know that you've done the work to get there and let it go as it will as you start your journey. The other thing that you first-time marathoners should know is that it's much easier to pass runners in the later stages of the marathon than it is to be passed. In other words, run a smart race, pace yourself, don't let your adrenaline carry you away in the early stages of the race. You want to be able to look at runners who are running ahead of you in the later stages or in the second half and say, okay, there's the woman with the orange shorts and the left hand, there's the guy in the blue thing, there's the woman in the white hat, and pick off these people one by one. And that will pull you through the race. And for your mind, it's much easier to be passing people than to be passed. Don't experiment with any new foods in the next couple of days, especially on race evening and race morning.
Right now,
the start time is late enough so that most of you will probably want to get something in your system ahead of time.
Marathoner winner
We
of the inaugural Olympics
with
of the women's marathon.
nutrition during the actual race course. Don't experiment on Sunday. Go with what's tried and true. And just be true to yourself and to your training, and I'm sure you'll all have great races out there. I think it's very important to set goals. If you don't have, how many of you have goals in mind for Sunday? That's great. That's very important. If you don't, set one. Set a realistic goal, but don't be afraid to reach out there a little bit. If you're running 8:30 minutes in training and you just don't know how you can go any faster, again, especially for your first-time marathoners, amazing things happen on race day. So if you find that you're out there at 8 minutes and you're feeling very comfortable, go with it. If it's 10 minutes and you're out there at 9 minutes or 9:30, go with it. The people who you surround yourself with out there will have their own goals and own motivations for running. And the stories and the inspiration that you will receive while you're actually running will carry you much faster and further than you could ever believe at this time. So I just would wish you, I'd like to wish you all Godspeed, and again, believe in yourself, enjoy the festivities and the people surrounding this event, and I would love to open it up to questions, and I'll try to provide the answers if you have any questions. Anybody have any questions? Yes. What will I do for my recovery? Are there any people in this audience who are trying to run a marathon every month? Good. This is a smart crew. There are marathoners who want to run a marathon in every state, on every continent. Whatever your motivation is, you're here. And let's remember that in recovery, it really takes a day for every mile in the marathon. So realistically, it'll take about a month to recover fully. That doesn't mean you can't go out and run next week. What it means is that you can't really try to draw a deep bucket from deep in the well. It just, with all the micro tears and all the breakdown in your body during the course of a marathon, it takes a while to heal and recover to the point where you can go out and really run another competitive effort. Now, if you're just trying to go through the movements of marathoning or road racing or whatever it might be, that's a different story. But if you're asking for pure performance and you're going after a PR, then expect about a month for a full recovery from the marathon. What I love to do after the marathon is get into a swimming pool. If you can get into a pool and just kick lightly, to me, that's the best recovery. It just allows your legs a chance to kick out, and even before that, the most important thing is to get nutrition into your system within 20 minutes of completing the marathon. You might not be hungry, but if you can force a little bit of nutrition into your system, that's a good thing. That helps flush the lactic acid and everything else out of the system. So, a warm bath or contrasting bath. Some people like to get into ice baths and then into a warm shower and vice versa. But to me, it's all about, keeping your muscles as loose and as relaxed as possible afterward. If you've never run a marathon, expect to be sore. It's a question of how fast you're going to push yourself or how far you're going to push yourself.
I've been training for the last 2 weeks. I couldn't run reasons because I've been traveling. So now I'm kind of nervous about the actual marathon. Is it okay that I'm...
This woman has just asked the question. She said she's been training quite well for this marathon, and then in the last couple of weeks she's had a hectic travel schedule, so she hasn't been able to run all that much. Is she going to be okay? Yes. You have perfect